ranking promoters and bookers' sons in the business. Now, it's one of those contentious questions where, nepotism in wrestling.
I don't think it's that contentious.
I know who you picked as the bottom, but I don't know who you picked as your top, actually, so I'd be interested to know your list. And I told you beforehand, don't tell me who you've ranked where. I want to be surprised on the podcast. So, I gave you a list of, goodness me, I don't know, about 20, 25 names, 30 names, something like that.
Yep.
Of promoters' kids and bookers' kids, very specifically. I think I've got most, if not all, of the main players. But, if there's one that we've completely missed, please write in the comments under, and I'll add it in next week. But, yeah, there we go. There is the magic
I'm
list.
ready.
So, I'll pull you up on certain names to get a story and that kind of thing, but we're going to go from the bottom of the barrel upwards. Now, you've graded these in 4 different
okay, the bottom
ratings.
of the barrel, meaning the worst of the worst?
Yeah. The shits with a Z, as you said before, or Z.
So I thought we were going from the top to the...
No, because we know who the bottom one is, but I thought we'd be positive on this one. And
all right, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, you tell me. So
I'm just, hey, you tell me. I can go either way.
Okay, so tell me, in your list of promoters and bookers' sons, who were the absolute worst?
The absolute worst. We don't have any kind of a bell or anything. Ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding. You don't have any kind of special effects or anything?
Do you want me to find something? I'll be back in a second if you want me to find something.
The absolute worst of the worst, the absolute shits with a Z, is George Gulas. The worst. And if you doubt me, go to YouTube. YouTube tells the truth, and get a match of George. I'm in there with him in one match. It was horrible. I tried to do the best I could to keep myself from looking bad, and that didn't even work either. But the absolute worst of promoters or bookers' sons is George the Stick Gulas. Horrible. He's the type that you would book. You would let everybody in free and then have a match and then charge them to get out. That's what you do. And the longer they would stay during his match, it cost them more. So you're trying to teach them a lesson, but they wouldn't listen. So therefore, they had to suffer through his entire match, which didn't go more than 10 minutes. But that was 10 minutes you will never get back and you will never forget. Okay. The next one, I think.
Is this the second worst, or is this just in the shits category?
Well, George is by himself.
No, okay.
He's told he's like the shits doubled. Okay, that's what he is. And I would think one of the other worst ones would be the 2 Von Erich kids, Mike and Chris. They tried, but they just... See, when you see a Von Erich in Texas, you expect them to be pretty damn good, or pretty imposing anyway, because with David and Kevin and Kerry, they're pretty good sized guys, which they weren't great workers, but they weren't the shits. At least they looked like they belonged. But Mike and Chris Von Erich are... Well, let's say they're 2 levels above George Gulas. But they're still the shits. Here's another one. I think you may argue with me here. David Flair was, no. I think, was it the shits, but he's still the shits. He just couldn't match up to Rick's he had the strut down, but I don't think his heart was in wrestling. I think he got into wrestling because Rick wanted him to get in. And his brother, of course, his brother passed away. And I think he just wanted to see how far he could take that Flair name. I brought him to Puerto Rico. I've told the story, and Rick called me and says, if you're Dutch, he said, if you'll just use him 3 or 4 months, I'll make 2 appearances down there for you and give you a hell of a price. Well, we never got to the 2 appearances. We never even got to the price because David, he kind of hit the high road on me and left. And when I heard he was leaving, I booked him in one of those fans belt matches where he went outside the ring and the fans would whip your ass. And he had that. And he said, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. So he left. They didn't hurt him or nothing, but.
Well, he whipped him in the balls.
Who told us that story?
A fellow called Anarchy last week.
Anarchy, yeah. Said he got kicked in the nuts. That's right. And then here's another one. David Sammartino. Now that would be a hell of a kind of somebody to be compared with, the greatest of all time, especially in the Northeast, like Bruno Sammartino. He wasn't a great worker, but yet he was held in such high esteem by the fans. And I don't think they held him in such high esteem because of his wrestling. I think he was just a good guy. They respected him for a number of reasons. He didn't drink, and he always had a positive message. But David, he just couldn't get there, and he wasn't anywhere the size of his dad. He weighed maybe 210, maybe a little more, not much, but he couldn't live up to his dad.
Did you ever come across David in your travels?
Yeah, I ran him. Where did I find him? Somewhere. I watched him work. Never wrestled him, but he was like stiff, and he looked lost, totally lost in the ring. And of course, he could have been lost. And I remember in the dressing room, he was friendly enough, but yet he just never picked up on what he needed to pick up on. See, I think some people are born to play a guitar and some people are born to wrestle. He wasn't born to do either one.
Hell of a trombone player is David.
Yeah, he was. Here's another one. Greg Gagne. Just didn't have it. And now, I met him one time, and I've only seen him work on video. So, and I don't know what kind of guy he was outside the ring or even in the dressing room. I'm just saying what I saw is that he is not what you would expect a promoter's son or a booker's son to even be like. He was just, again, he just didn't get it at all.
See, some people will say that's controversial because occasionally when Greg Gagne comes up, we've got people who say, well, actually, Greg was a very good worker, and Greg has his fans out there. I mean, he didn't look like anything. But,
well, you asked me, right?
Yeah, I asked you. I'm just.
Okay,
there's going to be a backlash from a few people.
I've never heard of. Again, Minnesota wrestling was a world away from me. I never heard any of the other guys saying that Greg Gagne is a tremendous worker. I never heard that. You usually hear if somebody is good. Yeah. You really, really
did.
But I never heard that.
Did Greg do backstage agenting for WCW while you were there? Because I know he was part of WCW for quite a few years after AWA closed.
Nope. He didn't do that. I don't remember him doing it. I remember Mike Graham doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Which his name's on here, too.
Yeah, he'll be coming up.
Yep. And this is going to be controversial.
Mm.
Well, maybe I should have moved this guy up one more level, but I'll just keep him where he is. Shane McMahon. He's like on the top tier
Of the shits.
of the shits. I mean, I gotta say where he was, but he didn't do anything. He had a good entrance. He'd dance around. He'd do all this, and he was kind of exciting and watching going to the ring. But most of his career was like the last time I saw him, where he broke his ankle. He tried to do this spot. And he tried to do it with the Miz, right? Where he tried to do a leapfrog. Then he was going to, but he broke his ankle. And I hate he broke his ankle. But at least he had Snoop Dogg and the Miz to cover that up. So what better people to cover up something like that than those two? And Shane, maybe he should just be up in the okay ranks. But I put him down in the shits anyway. Now, if he was in a story with Vince, yeah, he had some heat on him. He had something you could do with him, but it wasn't related to his wrestling. It was related to his heritage and being somewhat kin to Vince. Vince had so much heat. His excess heat, he could just throw off on his son. And Shane would have a lot more than guys go to the ring and work for it. But I never was impressed with him, but he did have a good entrance.